Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. My name is Kara, and I'm a holistic health practitioner for both people and pets. After working for years in the conventional medicine field, I realized that while our lifespans may be getting longer, our health spans are rapidly shrinking. And when it comes to our pets, both their length and quality of life are decreasing. When I turned to functional medicine and a more holistic approach to health, I saw dramatic improvements for my pets, myself, and my patients. Join me each week as I merge natural health for people and pets by focusing on the root cause of disease and applying raw, real remedies that you can use to improve overall wellness for every member of your family, including the furry ones. Welcome back to Raw Remedies Podcast, where we talk about all of the holistic things. Today I'm bringing you Shanel Duvall, who grew up in small towns in Montana, surrounded by a variety of family pets. From an early age, she developed a profound love and respect for nature and animals. And after completing a double bachelor's degree in kinesiology and fitness and sports management, Shanel embarked on a career dedicated to promoting health and wellness through physical fitness, eventually founding her own business in the human space. Shanel, however, is also the daughter of Deb Gwen, the CEO and founder of Glacier Peak Holistics. When a position opened up at Glacier Peak, Shanel decided to transition into the field of animal and pet wellness, and she now serves as the director of pet wellness, where she is able to pursue her passion for helping animals achieve optimal health and well-being at Glacier Peak Holistics. I cannot wait for you guys to hear all about our discussion with some excellent holistic products, so let's jump in. And we are back. Shanel, thank you so much for joining us. I think that this is going to be a really excellent conversation. And I think to start us off, I want to just ask you to share a little bit about what brought you into the holistic pet space and what you're doing now. I think your journey is kind of similar to mine because I came from the human realm and now I'm in the pet space. So I would love to hear more.
Yes, that's exactly it. So my mom is the one who founded the company. And so we've been dealing with organic food stuff for animals and herbs and everything since I was in high school. So that was a while ago. But yeah, so I went to school and I got my associate's degree in business management and thought I was going to go that direction and then decided no. I was going to be a DO, so I started off with kinesiology and then went into athletic training as well. So I did a lot with the sports teams in college,
Yeah.
and then ended up deciding that that was just not a path I wanted to finish. It was way too demanding for way little pay. So I was like, well, let's finish off with kinesiology, and then I switched over to fitness and sport management. So yeah, it does sound pretty similar. I was in the
Yeah.
human realm for quite a while, and then mom had a position kind of start up, and we were trying to figure out where to put me, and just kind of honestly worked from the bottom. Like I've been going through all the different steps and now up to the director of pet wellness. So, kind of translating the human realm into the pet realm because there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, Lord knows that's right. And for people who don't know, a DO is a doctor of osteopathy. So it's like osteopathic medicine. It's like an MD, right? But the slightly more, it's still Western. It's the slightly more holistic form of an MD. But
Right.
it's not like, it's not quite like an Eastern, like really like Eastern traditional Chinese medicine type doctor, but it's the kind of America's version of that. But I totally understand where you're coming from. It's a lot of school, a lot of money. You come out with a lot of debt, and you're still really pigeonholed into a specialty or an industry. And, a lot of that is like really kind of controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. I get nervous
Or
sometimes when I
insurance.
say these things. So, or insurance
Yes.
companies, right? I'm like, oh, they're going to find my podcast and come find me. But
Right. I
Lord
know,
knows I'm not
right?
the only one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
it can be a scary world, and it's frustrating when you go through all of that work because you want to help others and you come out at the other end and you go, this is not what I thought it would be. So I get that. I get that. I originally wanted to be a veterinarian. When
Oh,
I was in high
wow.
school, I said, yep, I was like, I'm going to work with animals. First I said I was going to be an animal cop because I used to love the animal cop shows. Then I said
Yeah.
I was going to be a marine biologist. And then finally I decided, okay, I'm going to be a veterinarian. And when I was in my senior year of high school, actually I was in my first year of college, my childhood cat ended up passing away suddenly. And I said, there's no way I can
work with this side of veterinary care. I can't watch animal death. I can't watch animal suffering. Of course, like a lot of little girls, I had the stars in my eyes. Oh, I'll work with animals all day. And of course, now I know that that is not the case. So I ended up turning to the human healthcare field, but I find it so funny that here I am 12 years later and I ended up in the animal space anyways. So I think it was meant to be. It was just a bit of a roundabout
Exactly.
journey.
Exactly. Same. Exactly. It's just like you get pushed where you're
Yeah.
supposed to be and what you're supposed to do, but there's lessons along the way that I think we probably both picked up and can translate over. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it all connects. It all is, we're mammals and although things are a little bit different in certain aspects, a lot of the roots are the same. So, oh, there's my
Yeah.
dog barking. So, let's talk a bit about Glacier Peak. So, the first thing that I want to bring up, and I have a couple of things next to me for people who are listening and not watching. This is the pet intolerance test that I'm holding up. And I have not done one of these for my own animals. However, I have worked with many clients who have done them. So I know a little bit about how they work, but yours are unique. So it says that they assess for over 350 different food and environmental sensitivities and that it uses bioresonance testing. Now, I'm much more familiar with IgG and, that kind of testing.
Sure.
So how can you tell us
Yeah.
how this is a little bit different?
Yes, I can. And actually, I wanted to point out that we just added over 40 new items. So we're actually up to
Oh,
395 now. So yeah, we added a lot of ones that have become common in some of the more boutique type dog foods, just so that we
nice.
can like cricket protein is popular now. And I'm like,
Mm,
I didn't know that was a thing. So,
yes.
beaver and muskrat. And I mean, there's a lot of really different ones that you wouldn't normally think. So we added a whole bunch of
Yeah.
them. So this is actually using quantum physics. So I don't know if you know about like string theory or how the quantum realm type stuff. It is,
Nope. All I know is from
oh,
watching Star Trek, which is not
right,
based in reality. So please tell me.
right. So it is above my pay grade, but I know enough of the basics to know that, and you would know this as well. Like everything has an energy vibration, right? So anything on Earth, it has a vibration, a specific vibration. And so the machine will actually pick up the vibration of the animal based on the saliva and the hair that we get back from the owner when they send us their samples, and the machine will test all of those 395 plus items against what is on the energy from that specific pet. And if anything comes up, it flags us, and then we analyzing it and kind of going through and being able to read the report of what we get. And then we can go through and say, okay, this item is super high. We don't recommend this. So that's the items that get marked in red on the results. And then we have moderate items, which are kind of look out for ones. They may be ones that are starting to become an intolerance, or they may be something that was a past intolerance that the pet is actually getting rid of right now and kind of getting over. But the biggest thing to know with this test is that it's a snapshot in time. So this
Mhm.
test is telling us exactly right now, this is what's out of balance. And it's not telling us one way or another, good, bad, and different. It's just, this is what is out of balance. This is what this animal's energy is not reading properly right now. And so that's when we go in and we ask people to try to cut or eliminate the dietary foods or restrict the environment for any of the chemicals, petrochemicals, environmental chemicals, as much as the um, outside stuff as you can. But it's life. You can't you can't cut down the trees in your yard and that kind of stuff. So we just ask them to try to restrict them for 60 days to let their immune systems calm down and recover and relax, because we can heal ourselves, and animals can heal
Mhm.
ourselves if we're given the opportunity, and we're giving everything properly, supplementation, and we're cutting out the things that are triggering intolerances and problems, then we're able to heal ourselves. So it's the biggest thing is giving a break from all of those items for the 60 days so that their immune systems can recover. And then you can slowly, gradually, add in something one at a time. Just try to see if you see any reactions from it, because some things might be something that animal cannot have again. And some of them they may be able to have again once they get healed up a little bit. But once you kind of go through the 60 days, if you still are seeing issues, then we have a section on the bottom of the test that's called the energetic imbalances. And that's one we get a lot of questions about. People will ask a lot about, what does this mean? Does my dog have a bacterial infection or viral infection, or, what's going on with this? And we just let them know that at the point in time that we did this, something came up that was out of whack, right? So a lot of the way I look at it is a lot of the way an alternative, like homeopathic doctor or naturopath would look at it, where they look at the symptoms and then they look at the pet and what's going on with it, and then that bit of diagnostic feedback that you get with the results. And then you can say, okay, well, these are the symptoms that I'm seeing. This is what popped up on the energetic imbalances. So that's probably kind of the direction we want to go to. And we do have many vets that use our tests as well. And they use them as a diagnostic tool just like that, because they can go through and look at it and they can say, okay, this was an issue. This was an issue. Let's change the food and let's address the biggest thing is yeast and candida. So addressing those and, getting off the grains and getting off of the food that just sits in their gut and rots and ferments, once we can get that addressed, generally we see really, really good results. A lot of people go through it and they're just like, this has changed my animal's life because I didn't know that what I was feeding them was not okay. And so it kind of is
Yeah.
one of those eye-opening things where then we can send people back to you and say, okay, now here is the nutritionist who can go through and be able to help you put together a meal plan and put together foods that are better for your animal so they don't cause all those issues to begin with.
Yeah. I love all of that. And I really want to hone in on some of the things you said, right? So one of them is it's a snapshot in time. And we are always evolving. We're always having cellular turnover. You could have an
Right.
exposure to something that causes an inflammatory event, then that could actually lead to development of a sensitivity. And really all of this ends up, we go in a big circle kind of about leaky gut and dysbiosis and
Yep.
intestinal
Yep.
permeability and things like that. So really the root of all the root of most sensitivities and allergies tends to be underlying gut problems. So just like you could have an improvement if you were working on the gut health, you tackle leaky gut, you get past it, you have this beautiful, optimal, amazing gut health. Some of the things that that animal was sensitive to in the past that showed up on the test, you may be able to feed again.
Yep.
Alternatively,
Exactly.
you could have an animal who has an absolutely perfect, beautiful test with no intolerances, and then one day they develop one, right? So things can swing in either direction. It's like a pendulum. So it's just keeping a
Right.
close eye on things and understanding that no test is permanent and no science is perfect. We all know that.
Oh
so,
yeah, yeah,
so,
absolutely. And that's with the
mhm,
energetic imbalances being a snapshot. People are like, well, what is going on
mhm,
with this? And it's, does my pet have parasites? And you're like, they could have eaten a bug or something when they're outside playing that day, and their immune
mhm,
system is working on it, so it's a little bit out of
mhm.
balance, so it shows up on the test, but it's not a long-term imbalance. So it's more
Yeah.
looking at those symptoms and what's going on and being able to tell from the symptoms and what you're seeing, because obviously most people are going to do the test if there's a problem. If they know
Yeah.
something's wrong, that's why they come looking for us, because they're trying to figure out what is going on, because conventional medicine or veterinary care has kind of left them high and dry for the most part. So
Yeah.
we're
Yep.
trying to fill that void of being able to at least give some people the tools to be able to start to go down more of a holistic path and go down a more of an alternative path and maybe find some better healing.
I was one of those people, sadly, that was high dry and really frustrated about it years ago. I, of course, didn't know about this company. This was probably 5 years ago now that I first started realizing that things needed to change in my home. And my golden retriever, bless his little golden soul, was allergy central. This poor guy. He had food sensitivities. He would have diarrhea. He had hot spots. He had recurrent ear infections. He was yeasty. He had dry, cracked paw pads. His fur was getting stained from licking. I mean, he was the poster child for allergies, and we all know that labs and goldens, we all know how they look when they're not healthy. And
Yes.
and of course, what happened? He ended up on Cytopoint shots, and it would control symptoms for a little while. And I said, okay, well, we have a chicken sensitivity. I know what to do. We just don't feed chicken anymore. Well, if there's anything I could encourage people to not do, it's to see an allergy and have your only response be, oh, I'll stop feeding that and move on to something else. Because whatever caused your pet to develop that sensitivity in the first place, it's still happening. And it will happen
Hmm.
to more and more ingredients until all of a sudden you find that you can't feed your pet anything anymore. So
Right.
it's
And
tough,
that's
and it
true.
took me years to get here and years to realize that I needed to work on the leaky gut and resolve the leaky gut. And now, 5 years after I first realized that my dog couldn't eat chicken kibble, I feed him whole chickens and he does great. Perfect stools, everything's fine. We eat chicken protein. We don't do it too often because he is a hot dog at baseline, so we don't like hot proteins. But
Right.
he
Yeah.
can have any chicken ingredients because I worked on his gut. So I love that you have the intolerance test. I think this is a great thing for pet parents to use. I just want to tell you guys, though, don't panic if it comes back and you see it lighting up in red and go, oh my God, my dog can't eat anything. What am I going to do for the rest of our lives? That just means that you work with a nutritionist, you work with a pet professional, you work on the gut health, and eventually that test is not going to be all red anymore. It's going to take some time. It took time for your pet to get into that position. It will take time for your pet to improve, but it will improve if you're aware and if you work on it. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that I do want to point out is like we're real careful
Yeah.
about saying that we don't use the word allergy because what we're testing
Mm-hmm.
for is intolerances and sensitivities.
Intolerance.
Because, like you
Yeah.
said, the IgGs, those are going to be testing for the allergies when we start looking at
Right.
blood tests and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
we don't want people to feel pigeonholed into it's an allergy and I can never feed it again because they translate their dog's, allergy symptoms into like a human peanut allergy, which could kill them if they
Mm-hmm.
eat it. And
Right.
it's just not the case. So these definitely change. They change in and out all the time because, like you said, you're healing your gut, you're working on your immune system, you're boosting that animal's ability to heal themselves. So it's just
Yeah.
really working along with them, listening to their feedback because they're going to tell you what's going
Yeah.
on. You just have to pay attention.
And thank you for pointing out that terminology. I feel like I'm constantly educating people, saying there's a difference between an allergy and a sensitivity. And of course, there's 4 different allergy pathways you can even go down with hypersensitivity reactions, and it just gets a little bit crazy. But yes, sensitivity for sure. Allergy makes me think hives, can't breathe, swelling. Sensitivity
Yeah.
is I got some
Yeah.
diarrhea or I was a little bit itchy. So yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. We're not talking anaphylactic shock. We're not into that. You know, we're
No,
just
we don't want that.
intolerances. Yes.
So can any, for the most part, I think most of the pet parents who are listening to this have dogs and cats, but can you test for any animal in the home that is having some strange symptoms? Maybe they're licking a lot, grooming too much, maybe they're itchy, maybe they have ear infections that keep coming back. We can't figure out a reason. Can anybody use one of these?
We are specifically for dog and cat right now. We
Okay.
do have some stuff in the work to try to do some avian testing. And so we've
Hmm.
actually reached out from somebody who has, forgive me if I say this wrong, I think it's inflammatory skin disease or inflammatory skin disorder in birds.
Oh,
Is when they
okay.
overpluck and they end up having their feathers come out not the way they're supposed to, and they come out curled and
Oh,
have really bad issues. So
I
yeah,
had no
we're
idea.
excited. Yeah, I didn't either. So I was like, oh, well, let's try to
Huh.
go down this road. So that is a path what we're trying to look forward to because, you know, parrots live for 40, 50, 60 years and you
Yeah,
want to make sure that they stay healthy for that whole time. And so yeah,
yeah,
we're starting
yeah.
to look down that one right now. And then we had done horse in the past. It's just a little bit more difficult because with the way we've upgraded our tests, we have to make a specific program just for horse. So that one
Mm,
is kind
gotcha.
of on the back burner for right now, but we're still working on that one too. But as far as in the home, dogs and cats are what we're set up for right now.
So, of course, this is not the only product that you guys offer, and I have used some of them myself in the past. So, one thing that I am really interested in that I saw on your website when I was researching is your digestive supplements. So, that
Mhm.
I don't have any because I don't have any animals who need it. But so you have a probiotic, And that probiotic has 13 different strains, which I really like a lot because, as you know, the majority of probiotics on the market have maybe two strains, maybe five strains,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
but that's not that much diversity, and I'll let you speak to that. So let's start with talking about the strains, and then I would love for you to tell us why the larch is added in there as well.
A lot of them are for different aspects of the gut health to be able to grow on their own. Because a lot of times, dog gets put on antibiotics after they've been spayed or neutered, or, so right off of the bat, they're already on an antibiotic and then they never get
Mhm.
that good, healthy bacteria reintroduced. So they're kind of behind the eight ball to begin with. And then, they get an injury and they get on antibiotics, or they get an ear infection and they get on antibiotics.
Mhm.
And then it is this reoccurring cycle that just does not stop until they've completely wiped out their healthy gut flora. And we all know, I hope if they're listening, they're understanding, or maybe this will be brand new news to them. But a lot of your immune system is actually in your gut. So like 80% of your immune system health comes from your gut. So having a healthy gut is critical. That's our baseline for trying to really help people with the yeast and candida overgrowth, is to get some healthy probiotics and some enzymes so that they don't end up with that leftover food in their gut that just keeps fermenting and causing more problems. Um, having having both of those will help them be able to create that basic healthy bacteria in their gut. So I always try to explain it like a jungle. You want your intestines and your complete GI tract to be a very flourishing jungle. You do not want them to be the desert where you see one cactus and one little tiny plant, because that's too sparse and there's not enough there to be able to make this be a very healthy environment. So the more diversity you can get in your probiotics, the better. And to the larch is actually a prebiotic to make sure that they actually have enough food so that they can last. And so the probiotics will actually get into your intestines and get in so that they will be able to do their job, because the larch is being able to feed them along the way. And then it can also help once it gets into the gut for anything else that's already in your intestines. So it's just one of those where mom's really particular about what she picks on stuff. She wants things to be synergetically working together so that it's not just a one-off. You're not just doing one thing to try to help. It's like, no, let's make all of this work together so that we can really get the best bang for our buck. I've been doing a lot of research on the different probiotics kind of on the market, the big popular ones. And you're right, there's like two probiotics in it. It's really, really important to be reading labels and see what's in everything.
Yeah, I know that unfortunately antibiotics sometimes there's a need for them, right? I'm not anti-antibiotic,
No.
anti-antibiotic, but
Yeah.
but what ends up happening is some of our most beneficial bacteria are our most fragile bacteria.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so one round of metronidazole can wipe out almost all of your bifidobacterium. Say
Mhm.
that 5 times fast, or even one
Yeah,
time fast.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
so it's really frustrating because sometimes, of course, you need to take them for a life-threatening infection or whatever it is, and it gets rid of the bad stuff, but it gets rid of good stuff too. And we want to make sure that we're replenishing those. And a huge problem too is, and I'm seeing it more and more, and it's just so frustrating. You get these mama dogs, mama cats, and they don't have an optimal microbiome. And then they give birth to puppies and kittens who likewise don't have an optimal microbiome. Because how do you get your microbiome?
Right,
You get it
exactly,
from your
mama.
mother
Yeah.
because you're
We,
born with it, right? So,
right. And
yeah,
that brings up a really good point too, is that we don't test for pets under 6 months because they still have
hmm
a lot of that from their mom. So we don't want to
yeah,
test and find out what's going on with the mom. We want to find out what's going on with the
hmm
animal. So we wait until
right,
6 months, because you're
right.
right. You get a lot of that comes directly from mom.
Yeah. And our microbiome, I mean, it's everywhere. Of course, we talk a ton about the gut microbiome, but we have the skin microbiome. We have the oral cavity microbiome. We have the vaginal microbiome. That's how
Yep.
puppies and kittens get their first microbiome.
Yeah.
Mom has vaginal birth, right?
Right.
The juices are all over the puppies and kittens, and then they go to breastfeed, right? And then from
Mhm.
there, you're also getting your antigens and all kinds of great immune globulins and immune supporting
Yep.
proteins. And it's such a beautiful, natural process. But unfortunately, it's like we're already kind of 10 steps back. Like we're
Right.
starting at a bad place and then we're just giving more and more things that are making it
Yeah.
worse. And so, yeah, I really
Right.
like that you have multiple strains. You should never have just a couple of strains. It's not what you're looking for. And the larch helps feed what's in there so that it survives. And then, of course, you're putting it into the gut and into the body. So I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I was going to add too, along with the enzymes, our enzymes are just the enzymes. They're not added. I looked at some the other day where
Mhm.
I was trying to help a parent and I was looking at what they were given because they said they were doing enzymes and the
Yeah.
enzymes that they were supposedly giving were all probiotics. And I'm like, these are not
Oh,
enzymes.
no.
Like, why are they
No, yeah.
labeled like this? And so it was very confusing because, people read the
Hmm.
labels and they want to do the best they can, but if they don't have a scientific
Right.
background, they don't know and they don't know what to look for. And the other thing with the enzymes is a lot of people don't know that the enzymes, a lot of them come from different fruits. And to make sure that they
Hmm.
are looking on their tests to make sure like papaya or pineapple aren't on there as well, because that might be in one of the supplements that they're giving. So reading labels is
Right.
super important to get to the bottom of it.
I glanced at your digestive enzymes. I know there's protease and all, there were a lot of different ones on there. Does it
Yeah.
say where they come from for pet parents who might have a pet with a food intolerance?
I know that we don't use any animal because I know that's one that people will ask a lot if we use pork for our enzymes
Okay.
and we don't. They're all plant-based.
Okay.
But we
Plant-based.
don't
Gotcha.
use bromelain and we don't use papain, which is the papaya and pineapple.
And then
So
pineapple.
just
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so we don't
Okay,
use those
excellent.
ones so that's one that won't pop up.
Cool. And yes, just remember, people, two separate things. Probiotics, they do help with digestion because the probiotics, which are just the microorganisms, make postbiotics. Essentially, you feed them and make them happy, and they poop out good things for you. And those
Right.
postbiotics do help with the digestive process. But we're talking about specific digestive enzymes that help break down proteins, fats, and carbs. And that is not the same thing as probiotics. So they can be helpful to take
Right.
together, but they are very different. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, if they feed kibble, they're getting a lot of, not protein food. And so just making sure that they take an enzyme along with the kibble is just so important so that they don't end up with the yeast issues in the gut.
So, one thing about kibble that frustrates me, and apparently frustrates my dog, if you guys all heard that, is that it's so heavy in carbohydrates. And unfortunately, it's heavy in processed carbohydrates. And at baseline, our dogs and cats have a very, very limited ability to break down and digest carbohydrates. A lot of them are deficient in amylase, which is the enzyme that's made by the pancreas that helps you break down carbohydrates. And so this can lead to it's really stressing out the pancreas, asking it to crank out this enzyme that it already doesn't have enough of. And then
Right.
please make me even more because I'm eating far more carbohydrates than I'm supposed to. And that can lead to pancreatitis. So some animals who
Correct.
have pancreatitis or just even GI inflammation, pancreatic inflammation, GERD, any kind of
Yeah.
ongoing GI issue could benefit from short-term digestive enzymes. It doesn't mean they need to be on them forever. And there are some things like EPI, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, where you do need them for life. But there are other times when you could use them for a short term, or if you are, on a food that maybe is not optimal for your dog's digestive system.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like if that's and that's what I try to tell people is that I understand that not everybody can feed raw, but trying to do the best you can with what you can, and then making sure that you supplement to try to make up for it. You're not giving something that's, straight wheat or straight potato or straight sweet potatoes. I mean, it's like you think that that sounds like good stuff, but animals are carnivores. They're supposed to have meat. And so it's
Yeah.
supposed to be the heavy protein and very, very light on the carbs. So completely different
Yep.
from what we are.
I feel like a bobblehead because you're so right, and I'm
I
just
know.
nodding and agreeing to
I,
everything you're saying. So,
that's what I'm doing back
so
to you.
so let's talk a little bit about your pain relief formulas because I think this is a problem that so many pet parents experience, especially with their bigger dogs and their older dogs, and of course our kitties can develop arthritis as well. And so I have, let me see what is next to me. So I ended up getting your Inflapotion, which is what
Mhm.
I have in this little container. And I it's really cool you have many different forms of the Inflapotion. So this is the capsules, and I want to say that I completely understand that your products are not marketed for humans. You do not sell them for humans to take. They are all human grade. I'm a big fan of capsules, and I'm a big fan of taking all of the human grade things that my pets are taking as well. But so you have capsules, you have a liquid, you have an herbal powder. Why did you decide to make so many different forms of the Inflapotion?
Mainly for convenience. The powder is easier for the larger animals
Hmm.
and smaller animals. Um, but the capsules can't be used for like dogs under 10 pounds and cats because it's too big. It gets stuck in their throat. So that's why she did the tincture because the tincture is easier to just add a little bit to their food. You just mix it in a little bit with their wet food and boom, they take it right down and it's not a problem. So it's mainly for convenience. I have two Rhodesian Ridgebacks that are 110 pounds, and so they get powder because I would go through way too many caps to be able to,
Yeah,
give them enough. They're not quite two, so they're out of the puppy stage, but they still play really, really rough. So they definitely get sore and they are wild. So they get some info potion when they've had a rough day of playing very, very hard. I think they try to be MMA wrestlers, like they're wild. But
of
yeah,
course.
the difference is just really to make it more convenient for everybody. So we have the powder, we have the capsules, we have the tincture, and then we also have an oil that's only external that's not
Mm,
recommended for cats because it does have some essential oils in there that are not recommended for cats, but it's wonderful for
okay.
dogs who have, like a sore knee or a sore hip, and you want to make sure that you're getting specific right on that area, and it generally helps calm it down pretty quickly.
Excellent. So the aside from the topical one, I know the Inflapotion can be used for cats and dogs, but you
Correct.
have another one,
Herbiprin, yeah.
Herbiprin, yeah, and that one is only for dogs. What is the
Correct.
difference?
So it's what's in it. So the cats are not able to have white willow, which is one of the herbs that is in herbiprin, and they're not supposed to have rosemary, which is also considered toxic for cats. So we would just want to make sure that the cats don't get something that would be, not beneficial to them. Our whole goal is to try to help, and we don't want to hurt them with anything. But the info potion is going to work specifically on pathways for inflammation. It helps with pain as a residual because of that, because it end up breaking that pain spasm cycle by decreasing the inflammation. But the herbiprin is specifically for pain. So that is our go-to for arthritic dogs who can't go up and down the stairs. Some that, they can't get on the bed anymore. They really are stiff and they're achy and they can't move. Herbiprin is the go-to for that one.
And can you take both of them if you had a dog who was having some pain problems, some inflammatory problems? Could they have both?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm a sucker for animals who have problems. So I tend to rescue them who are a handful because of injuries
Yeah.
because I'm like, I can help them. It's like I've
Yeah.
got to get them out of the shelter because I can help them and get them off of whatever pharmaceutical stuff that they're on at the moment. So the first one that I got down here was a Mastiff who was in this small pin at a local festival event from the
Yeah.
animal shelter, and he couldn't stand on his back end. He'd just prop himself up on his front, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's adorable. I love him. He's a brindle, just the cutest thing, just slobbery. I'm like, okay, he needs to come home with me. So I ended up bringing him home after it was about a month of making sure I had all the right stuff for him. Um, and from what we could find out, there was one of the care facilities here that would actually go and take him for acupuncture, and he would respond well to it. So I'm like, I really think that this stuff is going to help him. And we think either he got hit by a car or somebody took a board and hit him in the middle of the back because he had like a really bad divot, like right in the middle of his spine. Um, and so, yeah, we got him on the Infopotion and Herbaprin right away. And, it took some time because he had lost a lot of muscle, but, helping him move around by 3, 4 months, he's running. I'm like, what the heck? Like, this dog could not walk. It like couldn't stand up, let alone even try to walk. Like, I would have to help him. And now he's like, I think he couldn't feel his back end because he would do that hoppy kind of crow hop type thing, but he was moving, and so that was super cool. But yeah, they definitely go well together. We always say, if you do end up giving them and you don't have a critical case like mine where he had to have twice a day, like he just every day, twice a day, he couldn't go without, otherwise he wouldn't be able to move. But if you're just trying to do some maintenance on an elderly arthritic type dog, info potion in the morning because that is going to kind of help that inflammation all day long. And then herbaprin for the evening to help with the pain, but it also has sedative herbs in it that will help them be able to relax and recover at night and be able to get a better night's sleep. Because generally, if an animal's in pain, they're up and down all night, they're panting, they can't get comfortable. And so just having the
Yeah.
herbaprin at night really helps them be able to get into a comfortable spot and relax and really get to sleep.
Wow. What a what an amazing transformation that both breaks my heart, but then also fills my heart.
Oh yeah, he was
Oh,
he was the biggest goofball. Oh my gosh.
oh
He
gosh,
was
the
just
big ones
just
always are.
oh yeah, and I'd never had a super slimer like that, but he would flop his face and there'd just be slime everywhere and I'm like, "All right, I guess we just clean the walls."
Thank you for that microbiome transfer. I appreciate that.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
yeah.
So I have a couple more things next to me, and these are actually ones that I bought for myself for a specific purpose. And one I found I was actually really excited to see that you had this because I had been having trouble finding something. And this is the anxiety relief. And it's you
Mhm.
can't see because the there's a glare coming in from my window, but it's in the tincture form. And this has chamomile, passion flower, skullcap, ashwagandha, and valerian root. And
Correct.
I got this because I have a kitty who has been over grooming. And
Mm.
after a lot of trial and error and self reflection, I came to the conclusion that a lot of that had to do with my anxiety, rubbing off on her. I think she's a very empathetic creature. And so I've been working on my own stress and anxiety levels and projecting calm and having a safe, calm environment for her. But of course, we know that over grooming can become a habit, and it
Mhm.
can become very soothing to them. And so I've been looking for something that I can use so that I can help try and tackle that. So I'm excited to give this a try. My package quite literally just came in the mail the other day, and I opened it up
Awesome.
just now before our recording. So I haven't had a chance to use it yet. But I was really excited to find that. How did you land on these specific ingredients?
Skullcap actually does help with mood, and
Mm,
it by stimulating the GABA receptors. So these ingredients are actually part of the herbaprin. And so we knew that the herbaprin helped with the relaxation and the calming. And so we took
mm,
out the pain reliever part of it and like the blood thinner part of it, circulatory part of it,
yeah.
and really just wanted to focus on helping with the anxiety side of it. And so what we've been finding out, so we just released this, gosh, November, I think, November or December. So it's
Oh,
really
okay.
new on the
Cool.
market. We're just really getting a good push on it. So by the feedback that we're getting from people, we may end up making like an extra strength one because we're finding that animals who have really severe anxiety, they're really needing a double dose of it.
Mhm.
The good thing is all of these herbs are not going to do anything bad to you. So even if
Mhm.
you do a double dose, it's okay. So if you find that she's still continuing on, you can increase the dose. And we say to do it for a week and see, and then we always just tell people to give us more feedback so that way we can adjust our dosage as we need to.
Yeah, I think you get some special cases, and there's no way to know what could have happened to an animal before you bring them into your home. They could have been abused, they could have been had an accident or an injury, they could have it could be a puppy mill situation. You never know,
Yeah.
even when they're really young, they could have had traumatic experiences. I actually have my first rescue dog, Copper. He's such a goofball. And I like to joke that he doesn't have any brain cells, which is what makes him so endearing. But he was rescued, he was around maybe 3 to 4 months old, and
Okay.
he was found after a bunch of flooding in North Carolina.
Okay.
And right after I brought him home, I realized that he was terrified of loud noises. So if we were going for a walk and a loud truck went by, this dog would panic like nothing else. If I'm cooking and the fire alarm goes off, he will run into a wall trying to escape out of fear. And so,
Oh, goodness.
it's hard to know. Animals can have PTSD, and it's, of
Yeah.
course, they can't talk to us and tell us why. So I love having a
Yeah.
product like this on hand to really help soothe and be able to just target that naturally as opposed to sedating them or giving,
Yeah.
like kind of mood. Like a lot of animals are on Prozac, unfortunately. And there are
Yeah.
natural alternatives, excuse me, natural alternatives like this out there. And so I really love that you've created this product.
Right. Yeah. And we did right before New Year's, lady bought it because she was like, I've got to
Mm.
try something. And she said, oh my gosh, you guys, this stuff worked. Both of my dogs normally freak out over the fireworks, and they both were totally fine. They even went outside when the fireworks were going off, and it was just like, yeah, it's okay. So I think
Hmm.
it's being able to give them the herbs to be able to help them calm down, and then just really being reassuring with them as well, like you said, it's kind of like we have to give them our therapy, like we would get, and just really let them know that they're in a safe place. And even when scary stuff is happening, it's still okay. Everything's going to be all right. And just kind of teaching them how to get through it.
So beautiful. So tell me, if you had a pet parent coming to the Glacier Peaks Holistic website and it's their first time, they're not sure where to start, where would you direct them? Is there any one product that you feel would be most beneficial if they were trying to just kind of dip their toe into a more holistic lifestyle for their pet?
It depends on if they had symptoms or not. And
Mm.
so we actually have a form on our website that is a custom product pick. And so I actually am the one who goes through and does them. So it asks
Mm.
a lot of questions: what type of food you're on, what symptoms you're seeing, what supplements you're giving, and so that I get a better idea of the whole picture and kind of be able to see what's going on and see what they're interested in. Like if they're worried about, joint health, or they're worried about just daily, and like if they just wanted daily nutritional, the answer is going to be different for kind of what they're
Yeah.
looking for. But my go-to, as far as somebody who just they're not sure, they just want to try herbs and they want to see, how their pets do, daily defense is the go-to. My guy, like, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. They're all on it. My cats used to puke a lot, a lot.
Mm.
And I got them settled into a good routine with the daily defense mixed with their wet food and then extra water to really help with that extra hydration, because cats just don't drink. Um, and that really has helped. Like that helped their puking, and we found that that really is helping because it really boosts their immune system, but it also gives them a bunch of nutrients that maybe they're lacking that, out of their kibble. But um, what we always tell people is to make sure they pulse. So the biggest part of herbs is making sure that you don't create an intolerance, like what we keep talking about with what we are testing for. You don't want to give
Hmm.
this all the time, every day. You want to be able to make things varied. So we always say with like daily defense, or even with the herbaprin and info potion, is to give it for 6 days a week and then get one day off, just so that you get that little bit of a break. Some people will do it where they give like a full week off, and that way, they really just make sure that they get through it all. If you have um, you're worried about maybe chemical problems, like, just stuff isn't right. You don't think it's yeast, but, maybe there's some chemical issues going on. Super Cleanse is our go-to. So you can do 30 days of Super Cleanse and then switch over to 2 months of Daily Defense. And then that's our quarter. And then we just keep going through that full rotation.
It's so funny that you brought those two up. We were kind of running out of time, so I didn't bring them up, but I'm holding
Yeah.
up the Super Cleanse and the Daily Defense. And I actually got this for us because I did do a Parsley Pet HTMA test, and we're dealing with some heavy metal toxicity, which I think is coming from our water supply. And
Oh,
so that is what sent me down the rabbit hole, actually. And
yeah.
I ended up getting those, and we're all about this. We're all about to start them. So yes,
Yes.
heavy metal
So
toxicity, chemical issues, and then the daily defense, of course, can be just for daily support. It doesn't have to be for only tackling an acute issue.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. What we always say is with both of those is if you give them at the same time to be able to give half a dose, just because they both have kelp
Mhm.
and we don't want to
Mhm.
overdo the iodine. But
Yeah.
that's why it works as a really good rotation to be able to pulse because you can do the 30 days of super cleanse and then kick into 60 days of the daily defense.
This was so excellent. So where can people find you if they want to check out the products?
GlacierPeakHolistics.com is our website. Um,
Perfect.
we also are on Facebook, Instagram, same, GlacierPeakHolistics.com. We have a TikTok channel as well. So yeah, we're all over the place, and we will be at Global next 2 weeks. So on the 23rd is the Global Pet Expo in Florida. So we will have a booth there as well. People are out and about, and they're there. We'd love to see them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I will link all of those, the social medias and your website in the show notes. And Chanel, thank you so much. Have a super fantastic day, and I will see everybody next week.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Please remember that you, yes, you, are the driving force that helps keep small businesses and platforms like mine running. So if you liked what you heard, please like, share, and most importantly, rate this podcast. It's the only way we can reach more people and spread the word about natural health. None of the conditions discussed or recommendations given are meant to replace the advice of your health provider. So if you have concerns about yourself or your pets, please confer with a human or animal health practitioner. Have a super fantastic day, and I'll see you next week.